Hello everyone. Okay, this week we're going to have two parashiot, Parashat Metzora, Tazria and Metzora. Two parashiot, Tazria and Metzora. Now, Parashat Tazria and Metzora mainly talk about tzarat, the punishment that's called tzarat. Now, tzarat is a type of leprosy. It's like a certain punishment that we don't have nowadays anymore, and mainly that punishment came when a person spoke lashon hara. When someone spoke bad about somebody, when someone spoke lashon hara, only then, meaning then, a person got the punishment of tzarat from Hashem. Now, so there is a midrash that says in Vayikra Rabbah that says like this. There's a famous story that at one time a peddler, he was making rounds, in the village of Tzipori, and he made an announcement, and he started shouting and he said, "Man baye lemizban sam chaim." Who wants to buy a medicine of life? Who wants to buy a medicine of life? So people, gathered, and together with people, there was a rabbi. His name was Rav Yanai. He comes to him and he says, "You have medicine of life? What is it?" So the peddler told him, "Listen, it's not for you. This is not for you." So Rav Yanai told him, No, please tell me. I want to know, what's the medicine of life? I never heard of this. Like, what's the medicine of life? To live long, like, what's the medicine?" So the peddler takes out Tehillim and he reads this pasuk. Mi ha'ish shechafetz chaim ohev yamim lerotov netzor leshonecha mera usfatecha midaber mirma. What's the translation? Who is the man who desires life, who loves days of seeing good? Guard your tongue from evil and your lips from speaking deceit. So Rav Yanai heard this pasuk. He heard the peddler, and he said, "Wow!" He said, "All my life I read this pasuk, and I did not understand how to interpret this pasuk, until this peddler came and he gave the interpretation and he gave the explanation to this pasuk." Now, many people, when you hear the story, it seems like it seems like it's the whole lesson is just obvious pasuk. It's what did peddler tell him and what did Rav Yanai learn from him? Peddler just told him a pasuk. He just said, if you want the medicine of life, and the answer is, this is the pasuk. Finish. So what did Rav Yanai learn from him? So there's a Rabbeinu Chida, Rav Chaim Yosef David Azulai. He gives an explanation, and he says the peddler did not make an announcement who wants life. He didn't say that. No, he said who wants man. He said man buy lemizban sam chaim, which means who wants to buy medicine of life. Now, so what does he mean, medicine? He didn't say who wants life. He said who wants to buy medicine of life. Because if peddler, there wouldn't be anything special if peddler would say, if you want to live, you should keep Torah and mitzvot. It's nothing special. Yeah, we all know this. No, but the peddler said, who wants the medicine of life? What does it mean, the medicine of life? A medicine to preserve life. A medicine to preserve life. Now, what does it mean to preserve life? Now, we know in the modern days, all the, when you go and buy a cake, this cake wasn't baked, the cake wasn't baked this morning. It was probably baked weeks ago. And when you eat it, it tastes like, it feels like it was baked just this morning. Why? Because of the preservatives that they put in that cake. They preserve the cake, they preserve the cookie, they put so much preservatives in our food to preserve the food. Even fruits, fruits could stay on the shelf for so long because of the preservatives that has. It could preserve the food for a very long time. Now, we know preservatives is not a new thing. Even in time of Yosef HaTzadik, when he was gathering wheat for the years of hunger, So when he was gathering, so he used preservatives to preserve wheat and preserve everything, so the wheat and grain should not go bad. Now, so what was this peddler? Peddler saying? The peddler actually was offering, he was offering a preservative to preserve life. Something that will preserve our life. Something that will help us to preserve our life. Now, what does it mean? It means like this. It says in the book of Chovot HaLevavot. In Chovot HaLevavot writes that after 120 years, when a person goes to heaven, after 120 years, he goes through the final judgment, and they bring all his mitzvot, all his averot, they bring everything what he did in his life, and a person might see, I never did this mitzvah. You saying I did this mitzvah? I don't remember doing this mitzvah. Or you might see averah that you never did in your life. You might see and say, oh, you know what? I never did this averah. Like, what's going on? So where is this from? So, is there something wrong there? Like, is there a problem with the justice? Like, why am I getting a mitzvah which I never did? Why am I getting an averah which I never, which I never did? So the answer is, Chovot HaLevavot says, no. When a person speaks lashon hara, his mitzvot goes to the person who he spoke lashon hara about. And the person's averot, who lashon hara was spoken about, goes to the person who spoke lashon hara about. So we see when a person speaks lashon hara about somebody, his mitzvot transfers to somebody else. You could lose your mitzvot, and at the same time you could get somebody else's averot. So then, after 120 years, when we see mitzvot, and we don't remember ever doing those mitzvot, is because somebody probably spoke lashon hara about us, and that mitzvah came to us. His mitzvot came to us. Or let's say if we see averot that we never, I never remember doing that avera, is probably because of the. Because maybe we spoke lashon hara, maybe you spoke lashon hara, and therefore whoever you spoke lashon hara about, his averot came to you, and therefore you don't remember doing that avera. Okay, so Rabbeinu Chida, Rav Chida, he explains like this. So what do we see from here? Guarding one's tongue. When a person he guards his tongue, he preserving his mitzvot. He preserves his mitzvot. When a person does not speak lashon hara, he preserves his mitzvot. So this is what the pasuk means. Metzor leshoncha mera. Mi ha'esh chafetz chaim. Who's the person who wants life? What does it mean life? The life, the internal life. Who wants that internal life? Which means the mitzvot that you do. Do you want to preserve those mitzvot for internal life? So netzor leshoncha mera. Don't speak lashon hara. When you speak lashon hara, you could lose your mitzvot, and you won't have that internal life. Because your mitzvot will be transferred to somebody else. So we have to be careful. We have to be very careful when not to speak lashon hara. Try our best not to speak lashon hara. Try our best to learn a lesson a day, maybe, about the laws of lashon hara, to know how to speak and when to speak, how to do it, and how to do it properly. When we know the laws, then we will know when you are allowed to speak lashon hara, when you are not allowed to speak lashon hara. A person has to learn the laws, and like this, he'll be able to have the medicine to preserve the life in Olam Haba. Okay. I wish everyone Shabbat Shalom.